So many people out there today are living in what if land, and they're creating this anxiety. And if you actually tracked all the what ifs over the last 5 years, I'd be willing to bet that those people actually in reality lived less than 1% of those what ifs.
Wow.
So we need to be disciplined in not allowing ourselves to play in what if land. Let's deal with problems that actually exist, that come up in our lives, be really good at being solution oriented.
Right.
And if we take our lumps, we take our lumps.
Hi everyone, welcome to Go All In show here on ABC 15. My name is Stant. I'm your host, and today I'm super excited to welcome my special guest with us, Aaron Wagner, and a founder and managing partner of Wag's Capital. Am I say the name right? Wang Capital?
Wag's Capital,
Wag's
yes.
Capital, there we go. And then you're a former NFL player. Tell me more about that. And you have been building so many business. I look at your website and amazed of what you've done, especially the crumble cookie. That's my favorite. Well, welcome to the house, Aaron.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me. Exciting
To
yes.
interview you. So tell us a little bit of your backstory, because you have done so many things, many different companies, different skill sets, right? So how do you get to do what you do? Take us from the beginning.
Yeah, well, just quick summary. I mean, I grew up in Canada as a young kid, and my parents were both entrepreneurs, not uberly successful entrepreneurs. They started a lot of businesses, failed in a lot of businesses, but they always seemed to figure out how to provide for us. And as far as I knew, I had a great childhood. You know, like looking back, people would say that, you know, we came from pretty much nothing. But at the time, we were happy. We were a happy family. I was a happy kid. So things were good. But I moved around a lot because my parents were entrepreneurs. I went to 7 different elementary schools as a kid. And I knew that I really didn't have an opportunity for much more than whatever, you know, most of the people in our area, our small town, were doing, which was mostly the oil fields. And so for me, if I wanted to do more, which I always had aspirations to do more, I had to figure out a way to do it. And for me, the ticket to that was through sports. I didn't want to work in the oil fields and be a rig pig. So for me, I needed to figure that out. And I love sports. That was my passion. That's what I was excited about. But I really didn't know the exact path that would take me.
Okay.
However, I seen all these professional athletes, you know, living the life that I wanted. And so I knew that was kind of what I wanted to do. The crazy part about that path for me was growing up in Canada, hockey's the most popular sport. But my mom wouldn't let me play hockey because when I was a kid, she said it was too dangerous. So I played basketball, and I played.
I would say that
yeah, so I played. You know, her brothers played hockey growing up, and none of them had any teeth. So she was like, I don't want my kids to lose their teeth. She thought that was too dangerous. So I played basketball and volleyball and track and baseball. And then I had kind of a crazy circumstance where I ended up getting cut from a volleyball team because I voted for there to be more cuts made. And that led me to a place where I really didn't have much to do during that season. And my little brother had been playing football, which in Canada, football just wasn't that popular. And so I was bored, and I was going to his football practices, and I was sitting on the sideline watching. And the balls would come over and I'd throw them back. And then one day the coach was like, hey, you know, do you want to run some plays? And so I started running some plays, and he was like, man, you're pretty good at this. And so I started playing football in high school and ended up being pretty good at it. And so I got multiple football scholarships offered in the United States. And that was my opportunity to come to America and you know, chase the American dream. And so when I was 17 years old, my parents divorced when I was 15. Me and my brother moved out and pretty much were on our own until I was 17. And then when I was 17, I got on my 50cc Raz scooter with a backpack, and I drove all the way to the United States, crossed the border, and came in with nothing but a backpack and a small scooter. And that was my start of the American dream. So I played football there and ended up transferring to BYU. I played at Washington State for 2 years, transferred to BYU, And at BYU, that's where I started doing real estate. I started, as a junior in college, I bought my first rental property, talking one of my friend's dads into putting a down payment for me, and he trusted me. He was a fan, and it was really fun. So I rented it out to all my fellow student athletes, and made some money on it. And then I parlayed that into the next deals, and went on to play pro football. And that was, that's kind of the pathway into what I'm doing today.
So going back, what's your parents say it right now about you?
What would they say?
Yeah.
I think they would say a lot of good things. They would say that they sure wish they could see me and my kids more, probably. We don't visit as much as we could hope. And especially during COVID, Canada's been like really, really on a lockdown.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough to go back and forth. And so, but I think, my dad tells me all the time that he's very proud of me. I know my mom is as well, but they're fantastic.
Wow. Aaron, I'm very inspired. I feel like I just want to cry. I cry very easy.
Thank you.
But so what do you think as an entrepreneur, because we have a lot of audience who are entrepreneur trying to make it happen, right? What do you think that is the characteristic or, the quality that we need to have in order to be successful?
Yeah, I would say one quality that I've identified amongst almost all the most successful people that I know is the ability to just be a solutions-oriented person. Meaning, you guys know, everybody out there knows people that if something comes up, almost everything that comes out of their mouth is what's wrong with the idea, right? Like so for instance, somebody complains about something and you offer a solution and they say, well, that won't work because of this, and that won't work because of this reason, and this and that. And then there's, on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's these people that no matter what problem comes up, the initial thought is almost always exactly directly to a solution. Well, let's try this, let's try that. Now, every one of those solutions might not be perfect, but it doesn't matter, because the people that are focused on solutions versus problems and execution versus excuses, those are the people that are winning. Those are the people that it's not intelligence, it's not born ability, it's none of those things. It's people that are just good at figuring hard stuff out. And so for me, I've realized that if you're solution oriented and everything's figure outable, and you're always willing to just try and go and start, those are the people I look around and I'm like, they are just winning nonstop. Now, don't get it twisted. If you're on social media, you probably just see these people highlight reels and you're like, man, everything's so easy. Everything they touch turns to gold. I get messages like that all the time. But the fact of the matter is, these people are doing a lot of stuff. They're winning a lot, but they're also failing a lot.
Yeah.
But you get really good at both. And that's the thing that I tell people all the time is, all of the people you see that are winning on social media, they're showing their highlight reels. They're not showing when they fail. They're not showing the long grinding hours in the office doing paperwork and hiring and firing and all that stuff that's tough. It's boring. People don't want to see that. And so they're not shouting those messages. But I'll tell you this, like for me, I failed a lot. And just as good as I've got at winning and that confidence that's come with it, I've also gained a tremendous amount of confidence in failing, in the sense that if you fail well, if you fail quickly, you can jump back on the horse and you can go again very quickly. And a lot of people, they're just not good at losing. They're not good at failing. They drag it out. They let it ruin their confidence, their character. They associate it with future performance. And that's just, all of that is completely irrelevant. And honestly, it's what I call like living in what if land. Like, what if this, what if that? I mean, so many people out there today are living in what if land, and they're creating this anxiety. And if you actually tracked all the what ifs over the last 5 years, I'd be willing to bet that those people actually in reality lived less than 1% of those what ifs.
Wow.
So we need to be disciplined in not allowing ourselves to play in what if land. Let's deal with problems that actually exist, that come up in our lives, be really good at being solution oriented.
Right.
And if we take our lumps, we take our lumps.
I love that. I love it. Living in what if land. You should write a book about this. This is a great title for the book.
Thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. So as an entrepreneur, we always have ideas, right? Different ideas, new ideas always come up. We're very creative and then we do it and then didn't wait long enough and then fail and then jump to the new idea, new skill of business. And you've done different things too.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you do all of that, managing time, managing people, managing new skill sets? How do you do all of that?
I'm definitely not a master in it. It probably appears that way to people. Internally for me, I find myself all the time stretched too thin, not performing as well as I could or should or want to in certain areas of my life. But I will say this, at least in my experience, in my opinion, this life balance, it's a myth. It's a mirage. Yeah. It just if you want to be a high performer in many areas of your life, balance is just something that you have to let go of and say, it's not going to happen. And so for me, I let go of that myth a long time ago and said, look, I'm going to be very, very good at shifting gears. And so if I'm good at what I do while I'm in it, I just need to be able to go, okay, shift gears to family, shift gears to being a dad, role as a husband, as a CEO, as a business partner, and so I just try to put myself in those positions, shift gears very quickly. And the quicker that I can do that, the more effective and efficient I can be in that role. And that allows me to kind of do this, it's like these guys, you see them, they draw like stick figures. Yeah. And singularly, those stick figures don't really mean much. Right. But in the transfer of them, they put together a really cool picture and story, and it looks like, man, this thing's just flawless. Right. And I think that's what happens as you become very, very good at shifting gears quickly. Then people from the outside and even yourself over time, it starts to look and feel like a very well-oiled machine, but it's not balanced. It's just a mirage of balance.
Yeah, I feel like the concept of work-life balance is not the correct ideal, because it might work, 30, 50 years ago, but not now. I love the book called The Power of Full Engagement, and it's match what you just say. You focus on the thing in front of you right at that moment and shift gear to the new thing. I love that. And you have 7 kids. So
7.
how does your day look like? I bet you must have a dream team, right? Like doing this.
I do have a dream team in my work and in my business, and then I have a dream team for my personal life. And believe it or not, people are going to be kind of blown away at this, but my dream team at home is just my wife. My wife does everything. She is an absolute all-star. In the same way that people ask me all the time, how do you handle all these businesses and these different deals and roles in companies? Right. She gets the exact same thing because not only do we have 7 kids, but she takes care of it, a big, beautiful home, keeps it immaculate. Every one of our kids are ultra active in multiple extracurriculars and schools. I mean, that woman's driving like 200 plus miles a day, just shuttling kids around. And on top of that, our house is in great order and our kids are learning the things that they need to be learning at all times. And they have great confidence, and she's able to spend quality time with them and plans experiences as a family. And then, on top of that, she's gorgeous. She keeps herself in great shape. She runs 6 to 8 miles a day. She's just she's that person.
Awesome. All right, let's talk behind the scene. I would love to bring her in the show because a lot of women need to hear this, right?
Totally.
Yeah, like the full engagement and managing and make it happen, not
totally.
Just sitting down and say, I'm tired of this and complaining. And
I tell her that all the time. I'm like, Candace, what you do on a daily basis, there's so many women that would just love to hear. It seems so natural and normal to her, but it's not. From the outside, like people are like, wow, And it's something that I know she could share a ton of value with people because she just manages it so well. It's like controlled chaos.
Yeah. I have 2 kids, and I'm managing them well in my level too. Sometimes, man, I just, I have a dream team. I have a restaurant that I love, the Thai food restaurant, and I just get the food for the whole week, and just warm it up, and that's my dream team. That's what
totally.
It's
important. It's important.
Yeah. So since you have 7 kids and they're from 14s and every 2 years you just mentioned, what is your legacy look like for them?
I think that's not completely refined at this point.
Sure.
For me, I will say this: I've never had a very, very definitive, clear picture as to what my future is going to look like. I've been pretty much an opportunist. In the last 5 years, I've been a lot better at crafting and curating the things that I want to take on, where I want to spend my time, who I want to invest with, in terms of, my time and the people, and going deep with relationships. So for me, that's starting to get more clear. And I think that at the end of the day, the legacy for my children is that I just want to teach them that whatever they want to do, whatever excites them, whatever they're passionate about, that they just need to always excel to be the best at that. And I don't care what that is.
Right.
But happiness in this life, which is ultimately what we're all striving for, and everything that we're doing is really just trying to contribute to that happiness. Right. It looks different, and it's a different recipe and a different equation for everybody. But I think the common denominator for happiness is personal development. We have to continually be trying to be better. We have to continually be working toward betterment, whether that's our health, our wealth, our spirituality, whatever the case may be. And so for me, I'm really just trying to instill those things in my kids, that whatever you're doing, set goals and continue to strive and work to do your very best at it, because that'll bring you happiness, that'll bring you fulfillment. And ultimately, you're going to find success. And when you find success, it's funny, people are always like, oh, your girls love golf. Are they so passionate about golf? And I'm like, and my 2 daughters, they're top 10 in the world, right? So I'm like, yeah, they like golf, but more than golf, what they like is winning. They like being successful. They like achievement, and everybody likes that. And so people are like, hey, what are your kids good at? They're good. They like what they're good at, and that's how all people are. We like what we're good at. So if you put in the effort and the discipline to be good at something, you're going to enjoy it more, which brings the happiness that we're all looking for.
Wow. I bet they just learn from being around you and seeing your work. That's a great example, not just by word, but by action. So back to the business a little bit, Aaron. As a new entrepreneur who's listening to this show, if they do not start with money in the bank, money in the wallet, what would you suggest them to do the first thing before come up with a new creative idea of starting the company?
One common denominator I see with all aspiring, budding, or new entrepreneurs is that they almost always view that the largest barrier to entry to what they want to be doing, or the step that they want to take in business, as capital restrictions. Okay. And one thing that I commonly have to dispel is that lack of capital, or not having any money, is, although feels like the biggest hurdle or barrier to entry, it's actually the least. It's actually the very smallest. And that's just a mindset shift. That's just an understanding of being resourceful, because the most successful people are successful not because of their resources, but because of their resourcefulness. And that's why you hear so many stories of people that are ultra successful that came from nothing, because they're resourceful people. They weren't given resources. Right. They have the resourcefulness. And so I want everybody to change that mindset to, how can I add value? If I want to do this and I need X, and this person can provide X, how can I provide value to that person so that they can help me do it? Or how can I get what I need and well, that means I have to bring value to it. And so whether that's real estate, like people in real estate all the time tell me, hey, I'd love to get into flipping houses or commercial real estate, but I don't have the money to do it. And I'm like, cool, then go find great deals. Yeah. If you go find great deals, you tie those things up under contract, I can promise you there's going to be a plethora of people that have money that are willing to fund those deals, partner with you, JV, buy them as assignments of contract. And it's the same thing in any business. If you want to start a restaurant and you have great food and a great business plan and customer service and you're willing to do everything, you know how many restaurant brands I've purchased because the people had no money to grow, but they were incredible in their craft? That's something I can't really buy, that's the hardest part of the equation, is having those people and that process and that product and that brand. And so you can do that with very little to no money in whatever you guys are looking to do. So focus internally on what value you can provide. And if you don't have any value, then good luck. You might as well go get a job.
Yeah, come up with something and commit to it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. How can our audience reach out to you and possibly work with you?
I don't know how you can work with us, but you can follow me on Instagram at Aaron Wags, AARONWAGS. And a lot of times I'm putting things on the story for opportunities, internships, employment positions, partnership opportunities, or I even throw out a lot of times, hey, these are the type of assets or deals that we're looking to purchase or invest in certain companies. And believe it or not, we've actually done a ton of business from people just reaching out through Instagram. So follow me there, and I appreciate the support.
Thank you so much. One last question before I forget. I actually forget, but that's good. I remember now. So taking risk, because you are an investor and you're taking risk. Tell us, entrepreneur, a little bit about, what should we learn from taking risk? This risk that we should take, or this risk that we should not even play with it.
Well, again, I kind of always go to the macro in terms of your perspective and your attitude, right? When I hear risk, almost always people associate that with taking action. And when I think about risk, I think about not the risk of not taking action. Okay. So for me, there's a consequence and there's a risk associated with either or, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't do shit, you have a great idea, you have a great opportunity, and you don't do anything about it, that's a major risk, because you are going to either be going backwards or you're going to be in the exact same place that you're at, which if you're at the exact same place you're at, that means you're probably not where you want to be. And so to me, I feel like once you can kind of recraft that mindset and that perspective, then you don't look at risk as a liability, you look at risk as an opportunity. And that's the way I look at almost all risk. I look at risk as an opportunity because there's a risk associated with every decision you make. It's a positive or negative. What do you want it to be? There's going to be an outcome. And so I look at all risk as real opportunity. Now, there's certain things in different businesses that you have to do to mitigate some of those risks, and due diligence and partnerships and all those kinds of things. But I think that the basics of that start with the mindset and the perspective. And if you can condition your mind to look at risk as opportunity, you're going to continue to just grow. Are you going to have setbacks? Yes. But there's no such thing as mistakes. There's only lessons if you have the right mindset. And so you take the lessons, you learn, you go, and you just keep moving forward.
I love it. So the mindset is the key for everything
And risk tolerance. I mean, some people look at me and they're like, Aaron, how do you take so many risks? Even my wife is like, I don't know how you balance all the stress and the pressure of all the risks that you take. But you know what? Here's what happens over time. As you do things and you bet on yourself and you win for yourself and you win for others, investors, family members, employees, you gain so much confidence that at a certain point, nothing feels risky because you know you're going to win.
Yeah.
Every single person listening to this right now has something that they do every day that they have 100% confidence in themselves that they can perform. And when you get to a point where all those little things or all the big things that you're looking at right now as risks become as fundamentally easy and natural as those little things that you already have a massive amount of confidence in, then the risks disappear in your life. And so although it looks like that from the outside, for me, I don't feel like I'm ever taking risks because I know what I'm capable of. I'm going to win. And that's it.
So good. That's so good. That's so good, Aaron. Thank you so much. Wow. It's really helped me too. That's why I'm having so much fun interviewing you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here for our show, and looking forward to bring you back again for the show, and congratulations for all the things that you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me on, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
See ya.